My name is Ava. When I was 7 years old, my parents abandoned me. The people who stepped in and raised me were my aunt and uncle. For most of my life, I believed I owed them everything. That belief nearly destroyed me. I saved their house from foreclosure. I emptied my savings, took on debt, worked overtime for months to help them. And after everything I sacrificed for them, they changed the locks on me and told the family I was trying to steal their hoe. Before we continue, if you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, hit the like button. And if you believe helping family should never become a weapon against you, subscribe. Now tell me in the comments, would you save a family member's home if it meant risking your own future? After my parents disappeared, my Aunt Denise and Uncle Harold took me in. They weren't wealthy. Far from it. But they gave me stability when my life had completely fallen apart. I had a tiny room with peeling wallpaper. Harold worked construction. Denise cleaned offices at night. And even though money was always tight, they constantly reminded me of one thing. Family takes care of family. I carried those words with me my entire life. I studied hard, worked non-stop, built a career in accounting. By 32 I was financially stable. Not rich but comfortable. And my aunt and uncle, they told everyone how proud they were of me. At every family gathering, Denise would smile and say, "That girl is the daughter we were supposed to have." I believed them. But I really believed them. Then came the phone call. I still remember the panic in Denise's voice. "Ava, we're going to lose the house." My stomach dropped. That house wasn't just a house. It was my childhood. The only stable home I had ever known. Harold had gotten hurt at work months earlier. Medical bills piled up. Mortgage payments fell behind. Foreclosure notices had started arriving. I drove there immediately. The moment I walked in, I could feel the fear in that house. Stacks of unopened bills sat on the kitchen table. Denise looked exhausted. Harold looked ashamed. "We just need help catching up," Denise whispered. "Once Harold gets back on his feet, we'll pay you back." I didn't even hesitate. I used almost everything I had saved. $48,000. But it's gone in a week. A few weeks after I gave them the money, I made a decision that, at the time, felt practical. I moved back into the house. Not because I wanted to relive my childhood, but because I had almost nothing left. The $48,000 had wiped out nearly all my savings. My emergency fund was gone. The security I had spent years building disappeared almost overnight. So Denise suggested it herself. "Why waste money on rent?" she said warmly. "This is your home too." At first, it actually felt nice. Familiar. Comfortable. Like maybe helping them had brought us closer together. We ate dinners together. Watched old movies some nights. Laughed about memories from when I was little. For a brief moment, felt like family again. But slowly, something changed. First, they treated me like a hero. Denise cried and hugged me constantly. Harold called me his guardian angel. Family members praised me non-stop. Ava saved the family home. Ava stepped up when nobody else could. But slowly, things changed. The gratitude faded. And entitlement took its place. A month after moving in, Denise brought up bills over dinner. "Well," she said casually, "now that you're staying here, it would help if you contributed to the household." I looked up from my plate. "Of course I can help some," I said carefully. "But I'm honestly struggling right now trying to rebuild my savings." Harold frowned immediately. "You make good money, Ava. You don't have children depending on you." I explained that most people didn't understand how much helping them had drained me. I had retirement accounts, but very little liquid cash left. I was trying to recover. But every conversation after that became about money. Harold asked if I could help cover utilities, then repairs, then property taxes, groceries, and internet. It never stopped. And every time I hesitated, they reminded me what they had done for me as a child. And guilt became the leash they used to pull me back in. "We sacrificed for you. We took you in when nobody else wanted you." Family is supposed to help family. At first I kept giving in, because a part of me still felt like I owed them. But eventually, I hit my limit. One night, after Denise asked me to cover another major house expense, I finally said it. "I can't keep doing this." The room went quiet instantly. I took a deep breath. I already gave everything I had to save this house. I'm trying to recover financially. I can't afford to keep carrying everything. The warmth disappeared from Denise's face so fast it startled me. Harold leaned back in his chair, his expression hardening. So now we're a burden? He asked coldly. That's not what I said. But it didn't matter. From that moment on, something shifted permanently. They became distant. Short answers. Cold stares. Whispered conversations that stopped when I entered the room. I started hearing things from relatives. Little comments. Ava's changed. She thinks she's too good for everyone now. Money made her selfish. I couldn't believe it. Behind my back, they were turning the family against me, painting me as ungrateful after everything I had done. And not long after that, I came home one evening, put my key into the and realized it no longer worked. At first I just stood there staring at the door, confused. I tried the key again, then again harder. Nothing. A few seconds later, Denise opened the door just enough to look at me. No warmth. No apology. Just irritation. You should have called before coming over, she said flatly. My stomach dropped. Why doesn't my key work? Harold appeared behind her, arms crossed. We changed the locks. The words hit me so hard I actually felt dizzy. What? Denise sighed dramatically like I was the difficult one. Ava, this situation isn't healthy anymore. I looked past them into the house, the same house I helped save, and noticed boxes stacked near the hallway. My boxes. My chest tightened instantly. Did you pack my things? Harold answered this time. They're in the garage. I couldn't even process what I was hearing. Denise folded her arms tighter. You'll need to pick everything up within a week. We can't store your belongings forever. Forever? I had only been locked out for less than a day. I stared at the two people who raised me, and suddenly felt like a complete stranger standing on someone else's porch. Not family. Not loved. Not wanted. Disposable. That night I slept on the couch of a coworker named Melanie. I told her it would only be for a few days. But those few days stretched into weeks while I searched for something I could actually afford. In the end, all I managed to find was a tiny studio apartment across town. One room, thin walls. A hot plate instead of a kitchen. But it was mine. And for the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. A few days after moving out, Denise texted me. Since you're not living here anymore, are you still helping with the utilities? I stared at the message in disbelief. Then another one came. We also need help with groceries this month. No apology. No acknowledgement of what they had done. Just another hand reaching into my wallet. Something inside me finally hardened. I thought about the mortgage payment. The property taxes I had already covered. The savings I had destroyed trying to save them. And then I typed two words I never thought I'd say to them. No more. After that, I stopped paying for everything. The utilities. The internet. The groceries. All of it. And judging by the angry calls and guilt-filled messages that followed, they genuinely believed I was the one betraying them. As I thought back, something felt wrong. I noticed furniture missing. Boxes stacked in the hallway. And then Harold walked in holding paperwork. We've decided it's best if you don't stay here anymore. We changed the locks. I laughed nervously. What are you talking about? Denise crossed her arms and sighed dramatically, like I was the difficult one. Ava, this situation isn't healthy anymore. You've been acting like this house belongs to you. My chest tightened. What? Harold's expression hardened. You helped us. That doesn't mean you own us. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I never said I owned anything. You promised to pay me back. That's when Denise said the words that shattered me. We thought it was a gift. A gift. $48,000. Years of sacrifice. A gift. I looked past them into the house, the same house I helped save, and noticed boxes stacked near the hallway. My boxes. And just like that, the family turned on me. Apparently Denise had been telling relatives that I was trying to take their house. People called me greedy, ungrateful. One cousin actually said, "They raised you, you owe them." Owe them? Did that debt never end? Was my entire life supposed to be repayment for not being abandoned? One completely. But after the shock faded, something kept bothering me. The numbers. None of it made sense. I work in accounting. Numbers are patterns to me. And the more I replayed everything in my head, the less believable their story became. If they were truly drowning financially, why were there suddenly renovations happening? Why had the old kitchen countertops disappeared? Why was there a brand new stainless steel refrigerator sitting in the house weeks after I gave them the money? Why had Harold suddenly started talking about finally upgrading the back patio? At first, I tried to explain it away. Maybe they were using small financing plans. Maybe relatives were helping. But then I remembered something else. The property tax payment. I had personally paid it directly myself, which meant one of their largest overdue bills had already been eliminated. So why were they still acting like they were barely surviving? And then came the moment that changed everything. One of my cousins accidentally mentioned how beautiful the guest bathroom remodel looked. Bathroom remodel. My stomach dropped. I never saw any workers there while I lived in the house. They must have started immediately after forcing me out. That night, sitting alone in my tiny studio apartment, I opened my banking app and just stared at the transaction history. $48,000. Years of saving. Years of discipline. Gone. Suddenly, I couldn't ignore the feeling anymore. I wasn't just being used. I had been lied to from the very beginning. That's when I contacted a lawyer. At first, I only wanted advice about recovering the money. But after reviewing everything, he asked me a question that made my blood run cold. Did you ever actually see the foreclosure paperwork yourself? Silence. There's no. I hadn't. I trusted them. The lawyer immediately started digging. And what he uncovered made me physically sick. The foreclosure process had already been stopped months before they asked me for help. Months. There was no emergency. No immediate danger of losing the house. My aunt and uncle took my savings, then used part of the money to renovate the home while telling the family I was trying to take it from them. I remember sitting in my car after getting the news. Hands shaking so badly I couldn't even put the key in the ignition. Because the people who raised me hadn't just manipulated me. They planned it. The final confrontation happened at Thanksgiving dinner. And honestly, I think they assumed I was coming to apologize. When I walked in carrying a thick folder, I saw Denise's confident smile immediately falter. The entire family was there. Aunts, uncles, cousins, every single person who had judged me. The room buzzed with tension before I even sat down. Denise folded her arms dramatically. I hope we can finally move past this tonight. Move past this. Like I was the problem. I sat down slowly. Calm. Controlled. Because for the first time in months, I knew the truth. And they didn't know that I knew. Harold spoke next. We never wanted things to get ugly, Ava. Ugly. I almost laughed. Instead, I opened the folder. And one by one, I laid the documents across the table. Mortgage records. Property tax confirmations. Bank transfers. Contractor invoices. Permit approvals for renovations. The room slowly went silent. Then I placed the final document down. Proof the foreclosure had already been resolved months before they ever asked me for money. My aunt's face lost all color. Harold stared at the paperwork like he couldn't process what he was seeing. And then the questions started. Wait. The foreclosure was already stopped? You used the money for renovations? You told us she was trying to steal the house. I watched the mood of the room change in real time. The same people who condemned me suddenly looked confused, embarrassed, angry. Denise tried to recover first. It wasn't like that, she said quickly. We were under stress. We made mistakes. Mistakes? I leaned forward. You locked me out of the house. Silence. You packed my belongings into the garage like I was nothing. Nobody moved. Nobody defended them anymore. Harold finally spoke, his voice smaller now. We intended to pay you back eventually. I looked at him in disbelief. Eventually. My voice cracked for the first time all night. I emptied my savings for you. I lost my apartment because I had nothing left. I slept on a coworker's couch while you remodeled your bathroom. Several relatives visibly reacted to that. One cousin muttered, "Oh my God," under her breath. Denise started crying then. Real tears. But even in that moment, something about it still felt selfish. Not grief for hurting me. Fear of finally being exposed. Then I said the words I had carried inside me for months. You didn't help raise me because you loved me unconditionally. My throat tightened painfully. You helped me because you believed one day I would owe you for the rest of my life. Denise broke down completely after that. Harold lowered his head and said nothing. And the silence in that dining room felt heavier than anything I had ever experienced. To be direct, I sued them. Not out of revenge. Out of survival. Because by then I understood something important. People who truly love you don't weaponize guilt to control you. The lawsuit forced everything into the open. And once lawyers got involved, their story completely fell apart. The evidence was overwhelming. The false urgency. The manipulation. The financial deception. In the end, they couldn't afford to fight me in court. Ironically, the very house I sacrificed to save became the thing they had to leverage to repay me. They refinanced it. Not to save the family, but to pay back the niece they betrayed. When the settlement finally came through, I sat alone in my tiny apartment staring at the confirmation email for almost an hour. Not because I felt victorious, because I finally felt free. The money helped me rebuild my savings, get a better apartment, start over. But emotionally, something inside me had permanently changed. I stopped confusing guilt with love. Stopped believing that endless sacrifice made me a good person. And stopped allowing people access to me simply because we shared blood. Some family members apologized afterward. A few admitted they should have listened to me before judging me. Others stayed loyal to Denise and Harold no matter what. But more importantly, I got my freedom back. I cut contact after that. And honestly, the silence healed me more than the family ever did. None of that mattered anymore. Because the little girl who once felt grateful just to be taken in, finally realized she never deserved to spend her entire life repaying the debt of being loved. Sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the people who believe you owe them something simply because they once helped you. Ava spent her entire life trying to repay a debt that should have never existed. And the moment she stopped sacrificing herself, they called her selfish. But in the end, she learned something powerful. Setting boundaries is not betrayal. Protecting yourself is not cruelty. And love that only exists when you're giving isn't real. Why love at all? If this story touched you in any way, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more emotional, powerful stories just like this one. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think Ava did the right thing by suing her aunt and uncle? Or should she have just walked away? Also tell me, have you ever helped family financially and regretted it later? Your stories and opinions help shape future videos, so don't be afraid to share them. And remember, not everyone who says family first means you come first too.